Okay, so on today's lesson, we're going to continue talking about geometric sequences, but the main focus will be on finding the equation, okay? And the formula that we will use for this is T of n is equal to A sub 0 multiplied by B to the power of n. Okay, and just like before, each part of the formula has its own meaning, where the n, would be this one and this n right here, represent the term number. Just like before when we talked about arithmetic sequences, the n still represents the term number. And A sub 0, just like before as well, it still represents the 0 term. Okay, the 0th term. And the last part on here, it's the B, okay, which represents the common ratio. Okay, so the only thing that will pretty much change is the 0 term and the common ratio. Okay, we already know how to find the common ratio. We know how to find the 0 term. All that we're going to do is put it together into the formula to come up with our equation. Okay, so let's go over two examples. The first example says, use the sequence to answer the questions that follow. Our sequence is -4, -12, -36, and -108. Okay, then the first question for this is, what is the common ratio? Okay, so to help us find the common ratio, to help us answer this question, we're going to create a ratio. So what are we doing to go from -4 to -12? So I'm going to divide -12 by -4. Okay, so I'm going to do that right here. 12 divided by -4 and negative. Okay, so -12 divided by -4 gives me +3. And you can always double check this by dividing them in decimals. Okay, the next thing, what are we doing to -12 to get -36? Okay, so again, I'm going to now divide -36 by -12. And that gives me +3 as well. And when I do the last one, -108 divided by -36, I also get 3. Okay, I'm not gonna do that one, but it should be 3 if you do it. Okay, so that tells me that my common ratio is 3, which means that I'm actually multiplying each term by 3. Okay, so if I do -4 times 3, I get -12. -12 times 3, I get -36. -36 times 3, I get -108. Okay, so I'm multiplying by 3. Now, the next question says, what is the 0th term? Okay, so if I'm multiplying by 3 to find the next term, then to go backwards, I need to divide by 3. Okay, so I'm going to divide the first term, which is -4, by 3. Okay, and to do that, I'm going to go to decimals. So I'm going to go here, decimals.com, select the graphing calculator, and I'm dividing -4 by 3, which gives me a decimal. It gives me -1.33333. But that's not what I want to put. I want the fraction form. So in order to get that, I just have to click on this little fraction here, and that will give me the equivalent of the decimal point, which is -4/3. So I'm going to go to my document and type -4 divided by 3, and that would be my 0th term. Okay, now I can go to the next question, which is what is the equation? I'm gonna copy this. And paste it there. So that's my equation. Now, instead of t of a of 0, I'm going to write the 0 term, which is -4/3. Okay, so t of n remains the same. That's equal to -4 divided by 3, my 0 term. And then open parentheses to indicate the multiplication with the common ratio, which in this case is 3, close parentheses, shift and 6 to send the next term to the exponent, and type n. Okay, and that gives me the equation. Okay, now all I have to do is move on, use the equation to answer the question to follow. Find the 11th term. Okay, so to find the 11th term, I'm going to change everywhere where I see the n. I'm going to put the 11. I just copy pasted it, so I'm going to put 11 there. And I'm going to put 11 in there as well. So all I have to do is copy this section and put it into my Desmos. So I'm going to come over here to Desmos and paste it. And this gives me the 11th term, which is -236,196. So I'm going to go copy that, go to my document, and set that equal to my 0 term. Not my 0 term, sorry, my 11th term. -236,196. And here we have example number 2. And example number 2, now our sequence is 1024 for the first term. The second term is 256. The third term is 64. And the fourth term is 16. Okay, so if you notice, the numbers are decreasing significantly, which tells me that I'm actually dividing. So I'm dividing each term to find the other. Okay, so let's find our common ratio to answer the first question. So what do I do to 1024 to go to 256? Okay, so I'm going to divide 256 by 1024. Now, I recommend that you put this in decimals as well. That way you get the answer that you need to get. And if you notice, I get 0.25. That is the decimal point, but I don't want my answer to be a decimal. I want a fraction. So I'm going to click here to get the equivalent of that in fraction form, which is 1/4. Okay, so that's what I'm going to type here. It's equal to 1/4. I'm going to do the same thing. What do I do to 256 to get to 64? Okay, so I'm going to divide 64 by 256. Just to make sure. 64 divided by 256, that gives me, again, we can go to decimals, say 64 divided by 256 gives me 0.25, which, if you remember, it's the same thing. But let's make sure of that. 1/4. Okay, so 1/4. And if I were to divide 16 by 64, then I get the same thing, 1 over 4. This indicates to me that my common ratio is 1 over 4, which means that I'm dividing each term by 4. So if I get 1024 divided by 4, I get 256. 256 divided by 4, I get 64. 64 divided by 4 gives me 16. And if I keep going, 16 divided by 4 gives me 4. So that would be the next term. And I would keep dividing by 4 to keep going on the sequence. Okay, now to find the zero term, I need to do the opposite of what I was doing. So the opposite of multiplying by 4, of dividing by 4, is multiplying by 4. So to get the zero term, I'm going to multiply 1024 by 4, and that's going to 1024 times 4 gives you 4096. Okay, so that's what we're gonna put here. 4096 as the zeroth term. Okay, let me go up here and copy my equation. That's my formula. So all I have to do is rewrite it. So I'm gonna say T of n is equal to n is equal to a sub 0, which is my zero term, 4096, multiplied by my common ratio, which is 1 over 4. 1 over 4. Close that, shift 6 to type my exponent, which is n in this case, since this is the actual equation. Copy paste that here to find the 7th term on this case. So there's my equation, and everywhere where you see a n, we're going to replace it with a n, with a 7, I mean. So 7 and 7. Okay, now that's going to help us identify what the 7th term is. And I'm going to copy this and come to my Desmos. Paste it there, and I get 0.25, which I can write that, or I can write the fraction form, which is 1 over 4. 1 over 4. Oh. Okay, and it actually makes sense, because if I go up here and now I find the next term, dividing 4 by 4, that gives me 1. And if I find the next one, 1 divided by 4, I get 1 over 4. Okay,